if you're watching this video right now, then odds are that you're a guy, and you're a guy who'd like to have more success with women. If you're a woman watching, then welcome, and I hope you enjoy the show. Today, I'm going to share with you some very big truths about dating, the dating industry, learning to get better with women, dating coaches, things that just other YouTubers and dating coaches just won't tell you. Some of this is going to be pretty hard-hitting stuff, and I'm not going to hold back one little bit. Now, I have gotten first into this industry in 2003 when I was 20, trying to learn to be more successful with women. In 2006, I was starting to do really well and was starting to help out other guys. In 2009, I started my company, The School of Attraction, and I've been working full-time as a dating coach ever since then. So I've spent 20 years watching guys learn to do this stuff, watching guys get coaching guys myself. I've been watching and I've seen a lot of stuff, and I want to share that with you today. Now, down at the bottom of this video in the comments, I'm going to put some chapter video markers, so please go ahead and skip ahead if you'd like, because I'm going to address some very poignant topics that I know a lot of guys are interested to know more about. If you want to jump ahead, please feel free to go and do that. Most of you won't make it, but anyone can. Who is your favorite entrepreneur of all time? Is it Richard Branson? Is it Alan Sugar? Is it Elon Musk? Is it Anthony Robbins? There's really an endless list of really successful guys out there that you could choose from. But pick someone who you know their credentials, their ability, their business acumen is unquestionable. And imagine that I took 100 totally inexperienced budding entrepreneurs, so guys who want to start their own businesses, and I sent them all to this person. I sent them all to Richard Branson, I sent them all to Alan Sugar, and it was their job to try to coach these guys to be successful businessmen and businesswomen. Of those 100, how many do you think would be successful? How many of those do you think would go on to be super successful? I think if you said 10%, that would be optimistic, right? And I think maybe another 10 to 20% would do okay, but they'd never be super successful. And yet, you know that if this is realistic, even though you're sending them to an amazing business person, most people won't go all the way. A lot of them will lose motivation. A lot of them will discover that they just don't have the hustle inside of them that's required to really start a business. A lot of them will get sidetracked by the things that go on in their day-to-day lives. We know how this works with a lot of people. I have a lot of very successful friends, who have started their own businesses, who are doing really well. Probably 20% of them did it all on their own, and 80% of them hired a business coach to help them get there. So business coaches have their function. They're very, very helpful to those who are really willing and ready to make that next step. But it's a little bit similar with dating coaching. Most of the guys who come in, they won't put in the work. They won't do the long run, the marathon that really is learning to be more successful with women. They'll drop out along the way. But that's not because it's not possible. It's because it's a lot of work. And for most people, they're not really ready to do that work. And that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. But you need to understand that it's not women's fault. It's not society's fault. It's not that you're not good enough. It's not that either. Because, I see guys with disadvantages all the time do okay. It's the same thing in business. Think about this, right? Yes, if you are born into a poor family with a poor education, and you don't have money growing up, right? So you don't have any networking opportunities, it's going to be harder to be successful in business, right? It's going to be harder compared to someone who grew up in a wealthy family, the family is supportive, they get a really amazing education. It's going to be easier for them. And yet, we all know of examples all over the place of guys who've become super successful in spite of their beginnings. And I see this in dating as well. I've worked with all kinds of guys. And, my most successful client ever was a 5'5" Indian guy. Now, I'm not saying that Indian guys generally do better than tall white guys. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is that it's possible. And there are lots and lots of examples of it. It's just harder. If you have disadvantages, it's harder, not impossible. And that's the main thing they wanted to get across. A lot of guys think, a lot of guys I see seem to fail, so it's just not working. It's just not possible. It just doesn't work. But it's the same thing as business coaching. A lot of people pull out because it's hard work and not ready for it. And if you're not ready for it, it's no shame. It's just, I get it. It's hard. Introverts versus extroverts. So I hear this come up a lot. If you were an extrovert, because I know mostly watching introverts, right? If you were an extrovert, however, life would be easier. dating life would be easier. Absolutely 100%. Why? Because extroverts have a habit. Their lifestyles dictate that they go out regularly around lots of people. They have lots of friends. They've got big friend circles. They're constantly meeting new people. Sometimes those new people are going to be cute girls that they want to talk to because they're already being social. They're more likely to talk to those cute girls. They're going to have more opportunities, right? Dating coaching is built around the idea that we're going to be coaching guys who are introverted. I'm an introvert myself as well. One of the difficulties is a lot of guys blame all their failures on the fact that they are introverted. And that is a thing that we need to get out of our heads. Introversion is going to make it harder to approach women, right? If you're an introvert, you are not going to feel like approaching women in a bar. You're not even going to feel like going to a bar most of the time. You're not going to feel like being social. You're not going to feel like having lots of chats and chatting to a group of friends. I get it, but you got to get over it. Because just because you don't feel like it doesn't mean that you cannot do it. Now, where guys do come unstuck is that there are a lot of things that make it hard around women that introverts are more likely to suffer with. So, social anxiety. You're more likely to have social anxiety if you're an introvert. You're more likely to have been teased in a primary and high school if you're an introvert, right? So you get some childhood trauma around not being good enough. You're more likely to be socially isolated in day-to-day life. So your social skills just won't have had the chance to build like they would have if you're an extrovert. General shyness, all this kind of things. This I see with introverts far more often. And the key is this: if you have these things, you need to deal with that. The problem isn't your introversion. The problem is the social anxiety. The problem is, whatever the condition is. That's fixable. That's workable. You can get support with that. But it's not your introversion that's the problem. Approach anxiety is here to stay. Okay, so I'm going to say it right up front here. You are never, ever, I repeat, never, ever going to get rid of approach anxiety. I don't care who's watching, because nobody on this planet can help you remove your approach anxiety without the help of drugs. Now, a lot of guys don't want to hear that. And that is one of the first things that I say to almost all of my clients. And it's a tough pill to swallow, but it's critical, because a lot of guys struggle waiting for the approach anxiety to go away. They walk into a bar or club, they go outside and they sit there and they go, okay, they're waiting for it to go down, right? Just breathe and my anxiety will drop. I'll think good thoughts. Come on, Damien, this is okay. This is not so bad. What's the worst that can happen, right? Well, we're trying to argue our anxiety levels to drop. They won't. It's never going to go away. And once you accept that, then what you start to do is you start to work not on reducing or getting rid of your approach anxiety. You start to focus on anxiety tolerance. Okay, a tolerance to being rejected in front of other people, a tolerance to failing while other people are watching. And we don't learn in school, we don't learn anywhere to have a tolerance for this, because often failure is a shame mechanism. It triggers our shame. It's shameful to fail. It's shameful to be rejected. It's shameful to get something wrong. And we hold on to that. And you need to work on your tolerance to that, your ability to be okay failing in front of others and not get shame triggered internally. Now, if you're not willing to do that, I can't hold that against you, because 95% of the population do not have that tolerance and they've never worked on it. And you can live a mostly normal, fine life never working on it. Okay, you can be okay. But here's the thing. If you work on your shame tolerance, doesn't just impact women, your ability to meet women and flirt with women and meet better women than you ever could have before. It's going to impact your financial life, your career, if you think about all the times in your life that you didn't do a thing because you didn't want to fail in front of the eyes of others. Maybe you didn't ask your boss for a raise because you didn't want him to reject you, like to have that kind of public facing rejection. Maybe you didn't come to someone with that business idea because you didn't want them to shoot it down and make you feel like an idiot. I don't know what it is for you, but if you've got it with women, I promise you've got it in other parts of your life. And if you do build that tolerance, if you can be okay with that, you will become a force to be reckoned with in every area of your life. Many dating coaches are rubbish. I can still remember the very first time that I was invited to speak at a conference, a dating and relationship conference. And I was really excited to go. And it was just a small kind of clandestine event, and at the top of a bar, like the room at the top of a bar. And there were 9 speakers. And I remember going in there and being shocked and sort of disappointed. The very first guy I said hello to shook my hand, and he forced his hand on top of mine as we were shaking hands, like the Donald Trump move. And he would do that. And I was looking at him like, I don't care if you're trying to do this, Buster. Now you've just lost my respect, you moron. I didn't say that, but that's what I'm thinking, right? It was childish. And really interacting with almost everyone in that room, all the other dating coaches, it's like being in high school with a bunch of kids trying to talk themselves up and act real cool and like out-cool each other. Not what I would have expected for a room full of guys who should have a really high self-esteem and feel good about themselves. Of the 9 guys there was one guy I liked, and he was absolute legend, and we're still friends to this day. He's not a dating coach anymore, unfortunately, but he was a really good guy. And I've seen, you might think, well, that was just a small event in Sydney. I've been to events around the world speaking with dating coaches from around the world, big names, and I've always had this experience. Not always, again, 90% of the time, I've had this experience of this guy he needs more hugs. Like he feels rejected by his mom or whatever, and he's trying to make up for it. He doesn't feel great, and wow, it scares me that this guy is coaching women. And I really have that. I really do not like the guys on the whole in my industry, because they upset me that someone like that is teaching dating stuff, really important personal skill set to you guys. I say that because I've worked with a lot of you guys. I've worked with a lot of guys in my 13, 14 years coaching. And you guys are legends. Most of the guys I work with, I am consistently blown away by the quality of the guys that I'm working with. Like, just really solid guys. And it upsets me when people who are unhealthy, emotionally unhealthy, dealing with narcissistic issues, are trying to teach this romance. It's not just romance. I get it. A lot of you don't want a relationship yet, but you're trying to learn to connect to other human beings. And starting from that vantage point of being unhappy and emotionally unhealthy, that scares me. Now, as far as how to find a really good dating coach, look, it's a little bit tricky, but I'll give you some ideas. Here are my thoughts. Number 1, stop trying to work out how many women guys have slept with. Like, this is the worst metric you can go with. I know in theory it sounds like a good idea, but let me explain to you why this is not the best strategy. Obviously, you want to find someone who knows how to meet women, who flirt with women and pick up women, knows how to have sex with women. Yes, you want that. But here's the thing. Imagine that I have 2 identical twins, twin A and twin B. Now, twin A is, both A and B have amazing, they are the perfect pickup machine, okay? Both of them are great. They're identical in that way too. But twin A is emotionally well-adjusted. He is emotionally healthy, happy with himself, doesn't need to prove anything to anyone. His twin B, on the other hand, twin B has an emotional black hole inside of himself. He never really feels like he's good enough. He never feels like he really deserves love from anyone. And he feels like he constantly has to prove to himself that he's worthy, that he's good enough, that he deserves that love. Which twin do you think will have slept with the most women in his life? It's going to be twin B. It's going to be twin B probably by a factor of 2, 3, 4, or 5. For many reasons. First of all, twin A just has better things to do. Of course, he's got sexual needs. He's going to want to sleep with women. But he's also going to get into relationships that won't be threatened by him constantly cheating because he doesn't need to prove anything to himself. Twin B, on the other hand, is far more likely to cheat. He's far more likely to be consistently, persistently, doggedly, almost addictively trying to pick up women to sleep with as many as possible because he's got this emotional hole inside himself that he needs to fill with women and sex to make himself feel better. So yes, he's going to have by far more women up his sleeve. And the next thing is, who do you think is going to be the better quality coach? Twin A or twin B, right? The emotionally healthy one, or the one who slept with the most women because he's got an emotional hole inside of himself? Twin A. And I know a lot of guys don't consider that, but it's something you have to consider because it's one of the biggest problems I see. Which leads me really on to the next point, which is number 2, don't chase coaches who are bragging about all the women they've slept with. It's a horribly unclassy and narcissistic and childish thing to do. You'll never find me bragging about, oh my God, I slept with this girl here, I slept with that girl here. You'll never hear me doing that. I don't need to prove myself. I don't need to prove myself to myself, to the people who know me, to the people I coach. I don't need to do that. My sense of self is strong enough that that's not necessary. I don't need to fill my life with women to feel better about who I am. And so, yes, that should be a massive red flag. Any coaches doing that. I've seen coaches, what they do is they'll have an introduction session. In this session, what they start doing is show photos of all the women they've slept with. right? Not just photos, often like lingerie photos and stuff. Oh, I slept with this girl, I slept with this girl, I slept with that girl. That should be a red flag. You don't need to be investing your soul and your vulnerability in someone who hasn't dealt with their own. So, number 3, here is a big green flag you should be looking for with a potential coach, which is that they have done a lot of self-development work in their past, that they are actively interested in many other holistic parts of self-development, that you can actively see that they're working on themselves as men, that they're working on their self-development, that they're actively interested in, I don't know, their spiritual growth or their awareness of their place in the greater world. And they're not just obsessed with women and sex, but there's so much more to them as human beings. Because if they don't have that, I think that's your red flag right about there, because everyone's got their demons to work on, and picking up women alone won't fix all your problems. And number 4, real simple, just never go to a coach who's going to ask you to lose your integrity. I mean that really, 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 it's a big one. If you're watching someone who's teaching you something around women, how to flirt, how to sexually escalate, all this kind of stuff, and what he says feels like it's going to compromise your integrity in some way, ditch that guy fast. Your integrity as a man and your self-esteem are linked. You cannot build your self-esteem without holding on to your integrity. That is really, really big one. And I know you can say, but Damien, it is a cutthroat world out there. The world is not nice. The world is not polite. That's true. That is true. But you can be direct while holding on to your integrity. You can be fierce about what you want and unapologetic without losing your integrity, right? You don't need to lose that. You don't need to, you can take the high road and still be a force to be reckoned with in the dating world. So it's never necessary to lose your integrity as a man just to meet women. This will probably take you about a year. So a lot of guys get involved in trying to learn to be better with women, hoping that if they just learn some basic things, they're going to get great results. That's everyone's dream when they get involved. And sure enough, for every 10 students that come to me, 1 or 2 of them, it's so fast, man. I just have to get their heads in the right place. I have to give them the right pieces of information, feed them the right kinds of stimulus and inspiration, and bam, they are off and running. They're like, wow, what happened? Like 1 or 2 weeks and this guy's killing it. But that's only 1 or 2 out of every 10 guys. For most of you, this is going to take a year, and you should be prepared that this is going to be a year's journey. Even my clients that I coach, because I run a 3-month coaching program in Sydney and Gold Coast, and when I'm coaching guys, I always tell them, this 3 months, you're going to make massive improvements, but you're not going to be there yet. You're not going to be in your ideal place, probably. That's a year's journey. So you're going to do 3 months with me, and you're going to learn how to attract women. You're going to learn exactly what you need to do, exactly what you need to say, exactly how to build rapport, exactly how to build sexual tension. You're going to know exactly how to do it all, but you won't be doing it perfectly. And you're going to need to practice, and it's going to take you about a year to get there. That's just how it is. And, guys often balk at that, and they say, surely it can be done quicker. I feel like I'm almost there, If I could just get in front of girls, it'd be fine. Sorry, guys, 90% of you who think that, you're wrong. And I get a lot of guys saying that to me as well when they come to me. If I could just get in front of girls and talk to them, I'll be all right. Usually you're not. And I don't say that to scare you away. I just say that because you need to expect it. If you expect it, you can be prepared for it. And honestly, it's the same thing with a business coach. You wouldn't go to a business coach for a weekend. I got a business coach even for 3 months and go, okay, now I've got a successful business making 6 figures. It wouldn't happen. It doesn't work that way. You need to put in the time and slowly build up that momentum. It's exactly the same thing with dating. But again, if you start this journey with that in mind, you can be prepared for it. It's a year. It's not a year of occasionally going out. It's a year of going out once or twice a week to practice flirting with girls, right? You're actively doing it regularly. And if that's not a journey you're willing to go on, that's okay. There's more to life than women, for sure. But if you want that, then that's what you're going to have to commit to. Find a way to have fun or you will fail. When I started this journey of my own dating journey, I was just recovering from crippling panic attacks. I ended a terrible long-term relationship that left my self-esteem shattered. I had dropped out of university, had absolutely no clue what direction my life was going in. And so it was hard. It was hard to start thinking about dating and meeting women again when I didn't feel so good about myself. I was very, very fortunate to have an amazing group of friends to go out with. And I made a group of friends. I didn't have them yet, but I made them relatively quickly. And what made this group of friends so amazing was that we focused on having fun first and then trying to pick up women. We would go to a bar and every night we would be joking and laughing and doing dares and playing games. And, I would be talking to a girl and my friend would come to join us. And before he could talk, I'd say, "Oh, hey, Lucy, have you met my friend Ben? Ben's a really good guy. He's got a terrible stutter, but he's a really nice guy for the rest." And so for the rest of the interaction, Ben's going to be like, "Ha, ha, 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 ha. How are you?" He's going to do that for the whole interaction, right? And I'm not trying to make fun of people who stutter, but what I'm saying is we would put each other in embarrassing, funny situations with girls. We would do stuff in interactions to make ourselves laugh rather than to pick up the girls. We're constantly teaching ourselves fun is the most important thing we can have. If we're having fun, we will be okay. And I was, if I got rejected by a girl, it didn't matter. We'd laugh about it so much, and even because sometimes we're purposely getting rejected just to have fun with it. And I know that it can be hard. It is grueling if you're approaching women and getting rejected. No one likes that. It's difficult to process. And if you're not having fun around, like outside of that, if it's the process of going out with other people to talk to girls, you're not making that fun, I'm pretty sure you're going to fail because it's just too much. And you're going to fail for two reasons. One is that you're just going to lose momentum. You can't keep pushing yourself and failing without the fun to counterbalance it. But the second thing is, even if you do keep pushing yourself, what'll happen is, imagine this, you go out and you're feeling okay and you talk to a girl and the girl rejects you and you feel kind of crap, right? And you go back to your friends and it's not much fun there and you just feel crap. And then you go and talk to another girl, already your energy level is now lower. So you're at a worse energy level. And so she's more likely to reject you than the first girl. So if she does reject you, you feel even worse. You go back to your friends, you feel worse. You go and approach another girl, your energy level is worse again. So again, she's even more likely to reject you. You can see where this is going. It's a downward spiral, right? That you can't seem to get out of because you can't get your head in the game. You can't get the positive energy level required to make people want to interact with you. And this is where a lot of guys really lose it, is they can't find a way to have fun. And so I would say this, you need to find a way to have fun. I know guys who have done it without having fun, but they're the exception and not the rule. Once you can find some people to have fun with, it's going to be a lot easier. It's going to be doable. And really, it's one of the biggest differences. But remember I said, with only a few people really make it in the end, the ones who have fun are the ones who make it more often than not. And so that's a really big one. It's not all bad news. Okay, I know I've said a lot of things that might scare or confront a lot of you, but the reality is that you can do okay. I have had many clients on the autism spectrum. I've had little people. I've had guys with scars on their faces from water burns when they were a kid, like hot water or grease falling on them as a kid. I've had people with various kinds of disability. I've had short guys. I've had skinny, lanky guys. I've had overweight guys. I've had all kinds of guys, all kinds of races. And I will say that, yes, okay, I get it. It would be ideal if it could all be really good looking, 6'3" and built well. We can't all accomplish that. It is easier, just like in the business, right? If you're born in a poor family, poor education, it's harder. But it doesn't mean that you shouldn't try, because life is not fair. Life won't give you all the cards in all situations. You must be willing to go, okay, this is going to be hard, but I'm still going to do it, because the reality is you can do it. And I've seen all these guys that I just described to you. I've seen all guys like this do just fine. Will you do as well, as easily as the really tall, well-built guy? No, you're not. But that's okay, because at least you can be meeting women, going on dates, right? Getting into long-term relationships, feeling loved, feeling connected, feeling desired. It doesn't matter who you are watching, you can have these things. I'm not trying to pretend like it isn't hard. It is hard, and it's harder for some than others, but it doesn't mean you shouldn't try. If you give up, then you're a quitter. You're a quitter in everything, honestly, because if you want success in life, it's going to be tricky. If you want something good in life, it's going to be tricky. It's not going to be handed to you. The better the thing that you want in your life, the more people are going to be trying to take it from you. So don't be a quitter. You can't do it. Don't do it to yourself. And that's really the message that I want to leave here is I've said a lot that's confronting. And I've said it because I want you to, it's hard. If you think something's going to be easy and you get slapped in the face with reality, that's when a lot of guys quit and lose their motivation. I want to let you know this is how it's going to be. And if you know that, then you're forewarned and you know what to expect moving forwards. And I wish that more dating coaches were this honest. I wish that more people were this upfront about it, but they don't. They want to sell the fake. They want to sell the instant fix. If you just do this, it'll be okay. And don't fall for it. Don't fall for it. Accept this is going to be hard and then move forward with that in mind. And I make sure anyone who works with me as a client knows that before I start with them. I will not start with you until you know this is going to be hard. So yeah, guys, I would love to hear from you in the comments below. Is there something else, some other real hard truth that I think you want to know? I suspect guys are going to throw some truths in there I'm not going to agree with. Maybe some really hardcore red pill or MGTOW truths that I don't think are actually true in the real world. But throw them up. I'm always happy to discuss. If you just say something, if you're intellectual about it, I will discuss it with you because I can't be right about everything, of course, and I'm always open to being wrong and discussing these things. So let me know in the comments below, guys. I love hearing from you. For the rest, if you like this video, please give me a thumbs up and subscribe. That would help me a ton. And I look forward to seeing you in my future videos.